Alright, so my countdown to Spider-Man Homecoming continues. Now we are on to the first reboot, first Spider-Man reboot. Now I gotta say, they originally had a fourth movie like that they wanted to make, but I guess they couldn't see eye to eye on how they wanted it to be done. So Sam Raimi backed out, and then Tobey Maguire backed out, and then Kirsten Dunst backed out, and then the whole thing just went south, where it all just fell down like Jenga, like. And when I heard that they were gonna reboot Spider-Man, I was really, really, really heart shattered. I really wanted them to make another movie that could redeem the franchise, because the third Spider-Man was so done poorly. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, so they're just gonna end it there and then start new with a whole new take on Peter Parker. And I was not looking forward to that at first. And as we got closer, we see that, when we see who they cast as Peter Parker, I didn't want to give him a chance at first, and then I said to myself, maybe I will warm up to it when I see the trailers. And I had really strong doubts. I had very strong doubts for that. But the trailers came out, and I'm like, okay, looks a little, a little decent. And as they came out with more trailers, I was warming up to it, to this movie, before it was released. You know what I mean? So I was like warming up to it more and more and more. Like, okay, I think I'm willing to give this movie a shot. And it seemed like it's gonna focus on, Peter's parents more, like, the mystery of Peter's parents. Like the way it was marketed, called it the untold story of the web swinger and all of that. And so I'm like, okay, I think I'll give it a shot. And you know what? This movie is nowhere near as bad as I thought it was gonna be. And then again, it does not live up to the word amazing, like in the movie title. So it's just a decent. I think it's just a pretty okay Spider-Man movie. I don't think it's not quite as worse. Not quite worse than Spider-Man 3, because I don't know. I mean, probably because I wasn't expecting a whole lot from this, and I didn't embrace it with open arms right away. Maybe that's why it didn't really bother me all that much. But and the way Peter was portrayed in the movie, he's not nowhere near as nerdy as he should be. It's like his nerd meter was kind of low, and he's a little bit of a sort of like a misfit, like where he didn't come off as a straight A student, and he doesn't seem like the type of kid that the popular kids in school would pick on. You know what I mean? They seem like they would be friends with him. And there's even a moment in not even 10 minutes in the movie when we see him, and then the girl walks up to him and asks him to take a picture of her boyfriend's car or whatever. She looked like she wanted to ask him on a date. I mean, and I could look at him and he's like, okay, I mean, I could see her wanting to ask him out. I mean, he does not come off as an outsider, or as the type of guy that girls would not want to go for. I mean, he seems like the exact opposite. And that's not good, especially and this is before he even got his powers, for crying out loud. And other times he seemed like he's a bit of a smart aleck, where he doesn't know when to put his foot in his mouth. And other times, when I've just watched this recently, I rewatched it recently, and there were a few moments where he acts like he is a druggie going through withdrawal, where he needed another dose, badly at times. And overall, he kind of behaved like he was wearing the black suit. You know what I mean? like this is something you would expect from Peter Parker if he was wearing the black suit. You know what I mean? Like the way he was coming off and the way he was basically, the way he behaved through the most of the movie. But and then when he gets bit by the spider, I do like how the spider, you know, dies like right after that, and he's not off, you know, like biting other random people, because, you know, it made you wonder, like in the other movies, like where did that spider go? Did he go and bite somebody else or whatever? But here you see that spider died after he bit Peter, and I liked how this movie focused on Peter's strength, like where it didn't really focus on that too much in the other movies. It showed you that Spider-Man is, you know, still he's pretty strong, and it does focus on that, like where he has no control over his strength. I really did enjoy that, and they went back to the basic of him making web shooters this time around. So this is the first time we got a live action big screen movie with him where he makes web shooters for him to use, rather for him to have, you know, as a superpower. But I actually like that route that they went. But, you know, since they said, okay, we're just gonna have him make web shooters, okay, that's cool too. And the supporting cast, I mean, like, I think everyone was cast well. You know, like, you know, Uncle Ben was cast well, and Aunt May was cast really good too. Sally Field, I felt, you know, I liked how Uncle Ben had that tough love thing with Peter, and especially when it gets near the end, like, you know, like where you know what happens if you've seen Spider-Man. I mean, there's gonna be some I may mention a spoiler or two if you have not seen the movie, but I mean, what I'm about to mention was basically in the trailers anyway. So, but yeah, I mean, that is your warning there, you know, just before I continue. Now, I mean, you know, like I said, you know, like Ben and May, I mean, I thought they were portrayed pretty good, and even Aunt May was portrayed well, like where she was worried about Peter every time she was out there, or every time that he was out there, and he'd come back home and he has a bruise on his face or whatever, and she's like, "What happened to you?" And she is just a little bit overprotective with Peter. I mean, that's how Aunt May is supposed to be anyway, and also, you know, and the chemistry between him and Gwen Stacy was done really well too. I mean, I guess the fact that they've dated in real life, I guess that helped, you know, basically that helped, you know, bring the magic to Peter and Gwen. And the villain, I thought the villain was done well. Actually, when I watched this again, I thought, wow, I mean, like Kurt Connors, you know, / Lizard was done very good. It was done very good. I mean, the only flaw that I had with him is that, I guess, he didn't seem like he was conflicted enough with, you know, I guess with basically what he was doing, and that the fact that they, you know, he's a family man, and they cut that part of the character out of the movie completely. Why they did that is totally beyond me. It wouldn't have felt cluttered. It would have felt necessary. It would have showed more humanity to that character. And so they, you know, that was their mistake. And the tone of the movie was really dark. It's a little too dark. I mean, and it wasn't colorful enough. And for, I mean, I'm not saying there's not going to be a point in Spider-Man like where there's no dark tones, no dark stories to tell. But I think we just got that tone way too early. That should have came into play like when, let's say, if they introduced the black suit. You know what I mean? But we're just, you know, getting to know Peter Parker all over again, and he's basically becoming Spider-Man and all that stuff, and it just felt really dark tone, and the suit was not that great looking either. I was not crazy about the suit in this movie, I mean, I do like how we like how, you know, his Uncle Ben's death affects him, and how he's angry, and I do like how even Flash Thompson, who was a bit of a douchebag, you know, throughout the movie, he comes up to him and he tries to tell him that he he turns off his douchebaggery, button. He flips it right off, and then he wants to tell Peter that he is sorry for his uncle's death. I mean, that was a really powerful moment there. And but I don't know, like Peter did show off a little bit too much in like at school, like where he's trying to humiliate Flash, and then he slams dunk the basketball, and then he rips the hoop, and then he just completely breaks the hoop and he rips it down, and then it's like, I mean, like how is people at his school not going to suspect that he is Spider-Man? I mean, honestly. I mean, even on the subway too. But I know that wasn't really his fault. He couldn't really control it. He's like, I don't know what's going on, you know. But still, it wasn't, you know, it was a little too dark tone for a Spider-Man movie, and let alone an origin story. You know what I mean? And it's like they were staying too far away from, you know, from the, you know, I get it. They wanted to make it as different from the other movies as possible, but at the same time, you're sort of you're pushing it too far away from the basics of Spider-Man. And then we get the climax. You know, I thought it was done pretty good. Before I get to there, he didn't really become Spider-Man until he saved that kid in the car on the bridge. For me personally, that's when he really became Spider-Man. But over into the climax, I actually thought it was done pretty well, like where the wizard is trying to make New York, you know, like filled with other wizards. He kind of did that in the Spider-Man cartoon, like in the 90s. So I guess, you know, like that would have worked well for a movie, and they did that, and it's done well. But another thing, another thing is that I wish they had that dynamic between Kurt Connors and Spider-Man, like how they did in the cartoon. I really did enjoy that. So we still have yet to get that. We didn't get that in the Tobey Maguire movies, and we didn't really get that here as far as the Spider-Man, you know, persona goes. I mean, you got that with Peter Parker, but not with Spider-Man. But it is what it is. But you know, it gets really intense. You know, the wizard crushes his web shooters, and that's where it gets real intense for me personally. Like, holy crap! I mean, you just put him in probably quite a juicy pickle right there, and I was like nearly afraid for Spider-Man, like after that moment. But I mean, overall, I mean, you know, he tries to basically respect, you know, Captain Stacy's wishes after he's basically been bashing Spider-Man through the whole movie, and then later on, he teams up with him, and then he dies, you know, like as a hero, and then he tries to tell Peter to promise him that to leave Gwen away from all of this, and he just cannot say that, but he tries to honor it. But he doesn't have it within him to do that. He tries to push Gwen away, and then he just could not stay away. And then there you go. And then they have an end credit scene, which was thrown into one of the trailers anyway, like where we find out that not all, you know, like there's more to be told with Peter's parents. Like they could have came to that conclusion in this movie, like how it looked in the marketing, but nothing. It just like talked about it for a split second, forgot all about it, and then they brought it back in at that last minute, like, okay, we're gonna leave an opening for more on this mystery in the sequels, and where they could have done it all in just one movie, but nope. And I will say that I am glad that some of the scenes and some of the marketing where it sounds like Peter coming in contact with the spider was not an accident, like it was all set up and all that. I'm glad that they cut that out of the movie. But yeah, this movie did not live up to amazing, but it is nowhere near as bad as I thought it was going to be. So this gets I give it 3 chair spins out of 5. 1, 2, 3 chair spins. So Yeah, so I actually have an interesting theory on Peter's parents, but I'm gonna share that into my Amazing Spider-Man 2 review. So I'll, see you on over there. So if you guys enjoyed my review on this movie, make sure you thumb up the video, click subscribe if you're a newbie to the channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.